Okay, awesome. Okay, so like I said, I just want to congratulate you on the room acquisition. Um, we obviously think this is a huge deal, and the purchase is historic, and I think there's a consensus within Mocha that like the first room is going to have like really like far-reaching Genesis implications. So just like what motivated you to get into this auction in the first place?
Ooh, um, well, I always go with inner my inner message, and this was that. Can you hear that?
Yeah, sorry, I think that was my computer. I apologize.
I think okay. Um, and I'll so I went with a series of synchronicities that were going on. I had heard about Floor, I had heard about the project, and I was very curious because I had just had an experience with Arium right before hearing about this and how this could also be put into multiple virtual worlds, which I have already. I have a place in CryptoVoxel with Woka. We have a piece that we have a whole space there.
Mhm.
I have a piece into Decentraland. I have a piece of Sandbox that I won way back when I started.
Sure.
And so and seeing this experience last week, I had just gone through the tutorial and seeing about how to expand my art into a more immersive atmosphere and to know what that was like. And what I ended up noticing was that one, there was many things that made this happen, which the first one was the selling of the drifter shoots piece that happened just a few days prior.
Mhm.
Which was incredible. I have been so interested in his work since I saw it at Super Chief Gallery in New York City in the first event that I was actually also showing in.
Mhm.
And seeing his climb was so inspiring. And I tried to collect his work right away when I saw that he was making an NFT. So from believing in that moment, then coming to the point where I felt like I had to sell and I had to like work on my finances a little bit.
Sure.
And so I was like, okay, I'll leave it up to fate. I'll give 3 days for it to see if it sells. And then who picks it up? World of Women. I
Mhm.
mean, I just couldn't believe that it's sold to them. Like, what a great place for it to go.
Sure.
That foundation I fully support, and I love everything they've done. They spoke with me in NFT NYC. She didn't actually speak with us because of the COVID restrictions of travel, but we spoke about her project as well. And seeing it grow even from that moment to now has been wonderful and expansive for all women in the space. And I've always been a speaker for trying to get women involved and feeling like they do have a voice in this space. That's the whole reason I came together with a few other friends that helped launch Woka.
Mhm.
We all came together with similar need for space for women and to have us feel like we can do and we can be a voice and we can be a force to be reckoned with. And it's really wonderful to see it happening now in multiple avenues. One, the PFPs. It's great to see everybody creating their own different versions of what it means to them to be who they are, and the inclusion of all people is something that I've always been looking for in this space, because when I came in, there was very narrow thinking of certain collectors and things that was just very pigeonholed, I felt. And I was coming in as a photographer, and I had worked digitally for a long time because I was actually one of the first photographers to help professional photographers turn digitally. I worked with a company that was bringing big servers on photo shoots to work with photographers to realize that digital was our future. This is before there was cell phones and all the quality that you can get now with an SLR. It's wonderful. So it's kind of always been my path. Has been like the transition of film versus digital, of like the past and the new. And I feel like when I went to college, I had had my first taste of what it was like to work in virtual reality. I was able to connect with Brown University, and they had a projection room. This is around 2004. And I had only had one experience before that with virtual reality around 96, I think it was, in Canada. On a trip, there was a random, like a big, you had to wear a giant thing on your head. And I was a kid, and it was like the wildest thing ever. And it made me realize I wanted to be an artist and know what all this digital world is. I had played computer kind of at the start of when computers were made. So it's always been a personal journey to pass those boundaries of what is possible. And this opportunity with MoCA, something that MoCA always represents, Museum of Crypto Art, has always been inclusion. Like the last year, I've been watching them, like what they collect and who they support, and everybody in the space is uplifted with their presence. And that's one thing that really made me want to support them as well with this purchase. Like if you know, I'm sure what I end up making is going to be really fun and different, and I'll go into that in a little bit. But what I wanted to say about it is, like, this is if you're going to buy a PFP for the same price, it seems like a lot of people drop it for a second. That same price, for me, it was huge, because I was in serious trouble until these points. So seeing it, it's like I wanted to have a not only investment into how I want to see the world become, and how to change the virtual space into something new. Because there's so many virtual galleries where it looks like you're trying to just recreate what you've already been to. So I would love, the second I saw that there was an option of random, like that there was this kind of, that it was all about changing what we already know of these virtual worlds, I'm like, I love this. Sure. I love it. And not only that, it's the place that I really feel like is a really great center hub for artists to go to if they are entering, to find out the pieces that have come before, the people that started the whole movement that helped it form into what it is now, and the people that are going to be coming in the future. And the vision has always been very art focused and growth oriented, and that is something I align with completely. So I wanted to support it with the amount that I could. And it was my last bid. I don't think Han knew that, but it was, for me, that last one, I didn't think I would do, but something was like, God, if I don't just try one more. Sure. And I'm so glad that I was able to have a hold and to now see what we can do with it. Now we're going to be challenging what it can do, because I would love to make it something really immersive, really different. A lot of what I've been working with on my art is about identity, about the fingerprint, about your hands, about what creates you. And then a lot of my journey, I kind of wanted to say this, is navigating my inner compass through a landscape of outer impermanence, like navigating the inner compass versus the outer. Like the landscape is like always impermanent. But the one thing that does stay with you the whole time is the inside. Yeah. And something that's always been with me as an artist, even before I knew I was really an artist, before I believed in myself that I was really an artist, I was always, even to that first statement of like, if I ever was an artist, what would be my statement? And I looked back to it a few years ago, and I saw that it said like, the macrocosm within the microcosm. And it's something as a kid I loved so much, because I was into microscopes and I was into telescopes. Yeah. I didn't even know I liked photography. I didn't really do very much of it till the last year of college. I had just started then with 4x5, which is so funny. And in dark rooms, and like the magic of the dark room is what brought me to photography to begin with. The thought that the page could just go from white to this piece of reality that felt like reality, or what you see as reality. That magic, to me, I had cried the first time I didn't get into the class. I was just like so sad that I couldn't experience what it was, that magic. And now I feel like we're so beyond all of that. Like there's so much more going on in the world, and photographs are like nothing to people. And in some ways, because they're so, it's like, it's not only nothing, it's actually a language. It's become a language, and it's become a visual language of communication, and more so than ever. And especially now that we can't travel as much or be in person as much. So the thought of the micro within the macro, not only throughout my whole life, has been something. When the second I learned about what Web3 was, that is exactly what has become. Like the moment I bought that NFT from Drift, that I believed that this person is doing something incredible, has now turned into this like bounty. And it's like amazing. Like how does Web3 change, our understanding of quantity and value and time? All of these notions have completely shifted in our brains, and most people can't even grasp it. I can't grasp it either. And that's why I make my art about it. It's like, I feel like it's something that we need to focus on, because it almost feels like the whole basis of our existence. So that is something that I would love to challenge in this virtual space, to see if we can give some sort of connection with that. A lot of things I keep thinking of is like, I think there's 16 rooms in the one we got. And the one
so the 16 spots,
16 spots. And that to me is interesting, because it could be divisible by 4. And the directions, north, the compass, the directions of our trajectories physically, also all the elements of the earth, water, wind, fire, air. It's like, it just, all of these things feel like they could be translated into a virtual world, to see what we can make from something, from a small concept, to see how grand it could be. And I feel like that's what blockchain, that's what NFTs, that's what this revolution of finance, that's what this, there's so many, it's almost like
overwhelming.
It's totally overwhelming. And I'm not one for words, because I make art, like the one in the background. I like them. And that is not paint, that is light. It's like, I have always wanted to transition our notions of what we think things are, and what we can do with it, and how we can see ourselves in the world in the future. And being a woman in this moment in time, being able to purchase this because of what just happened to me a few days ago, I feel like it was I had to take the leap, and I had to see what would happen. And now I'm here on this journey with you guys, and I can't wait to learn more and know how, what, and I have full faith in the architect. It's like a genius, like seeing the works that have come, I'm like blown away. And I can't wait to see what kind of collaborative environment we can make for people to experience.
So yeah, I mean, we have talked a lot, internally, like, just within our team about, when we get these rooms into people's hands, like, what kinds of people are going to be doing different things with the rooms, right? If you have like your kind of standard fare collector using this as an exhibition space, like you could have a whole ecosystem of that. Whereas you can have rooms in the hands of artists who are going to be, like you said, really pushing the boundaries of, well, we have 16 that's divisible by 4. What other things are divisible by 4? The elements, the, directions, right? Where you start to you start to impose like artistic ideals into the room itself. And it's so interesting to me, because, these are really kind of blank canvases for, whatever level of expressiveness that the owner, wants to imbue their room with. One thing that I did think that was really interesting that you brought up was the relationship between like profile pictures and like these rooms. On one hand, you have, your ability to express yourself in a public setting as you would, with your outfit. And now we have this ability to express ourselves with this internal setting, right? How are we expressing ourselves to ourselves, right? How we decorate, our rooms and our homes is how, with a reflection of our sensibilities, our reflections of our mind. My desk is always, a cluttered mess, which more or less reflects, the way my mind works. So I was hoping you could talk a bit more about, the ability to express yourself in a way that is not necessarily dictated by being public facing, having this room that can be an expression of, your kind of internal space as opposed to a PFP, which is, kind of dictated by how you are expressing yourself outwardly. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it goes with a little bit of what I've been thinking with the dualities, with the way you can only find light within your darkest moment in some ways, and the thought of bringing your inner world to now a public space, and of course with your clothes, and having as artists, we're here to create for ourselves, for our own healing, of course, and also in the same way that the dichotomy works, would be healing for others too, like by experiencing it. And it's not until the art is seen that it can be felt by the collective. So having that notion of a possibility of something that's more than a 2D representation, or a thing where you have to, the expression of self is given a new freedom.
Yeah,
I
sure.
think, in what will be. So I'm excited to explore it.
Mm. Do you have like a specific, I know you mentioned a couple of ideas that you had, with the dualities and with the internal versus the external, but do you have like when you got this room, right? Or when you were bidding on this room, did you have an idea of a specific kind of like artistic or like contextual sensibility that you would have wanted to display, or that you were excited specifically about the ability to display?
No, I tell you, this was so quick. This whole thing was so quick, and I really just go with what my gut tells me, and it's we're gonna see what happens. I think it was a huge moment for me to give back to the Museum of Crypto Art as well, for doing what they have done for so long.
Mhm.
This was just a small token in a way to like support what is happening, because they have supported so many artists already. Like what I feel like I am doing in this space is one, giving a message to women, that to women of all, and people that all seem marginalized. This is not just a woman issue. It's like this is everybody, and just knowing that if you continue to go with your gut, or like to go with what your soul feels like it needs to make actions on, or to grow. I feel like that is what needs to continue to happen. And for me, I'm almost like, I need to live in this, I need to live by this rule. This is just something that's been internal my whole life, is living by the rule of your feeling, and going with what feels right. And this moment, this synchronicity or whatnot you call it, this moment of opportunity, I felt like I couldn't pass up, like I had to try. So, and there's so many moments where you can tell yourself everything negative, and then it won't happen, and you won't feel confident, and you won't do it. And I think that message is the biggest one. It's like to be your best, I'm sure you hear it in many things, to be your best hero, like to be your best fan, and to know that what you're feeling might be the way out, or might be the way into something new that you need to be expressing.
Do you like, I was hoping you could expand a bit more on, you've spoken again and again about how important it is to provide like a space and support for women in crypto art. And this is, I presume, going to be like a physical space for women to, to show their work or to gather or to just have a, kind of physical space to like be with each other. And I was hoping you could talk a bit more about what that means to have that space within, the crypto art world.
I have, it's for connection, for connection as well. I think this space, I'm not sure how it would be structured or how quickly it could be changed or how often I can, exhibit people's works. All of these answers will come to me as I learn more, to know what I could be offering for our space, for women, for anybody who is on the outskirts of what's going on. Like, especially, like, I've also been a big proponent. I've been a big fan of the written word as well, the poetry girls, the verse, led by women who are bringing something new. Anybody who's bringing something new to the space should be celebrated. And I feel like I had just been speaking with them about like bringing a virtual connection in space, about having like more communication, gathering spaces, like spaces where we can actually experience the hearing of the voices more than just over the talks, like over the Twitter chats and spaces.
Mhm.
Like a space to feel more immersed and more connected. I keep remembering last week, I was just thinking so much about like going to the Nuyorican, the Poets Cafe in New York City, and how transformative that was for me to see and to be part of, to like see the feelings, the emotions coming out of the people. I think that we can get closer to that through these virtual worlds, and I want to see what's possible. I had just been checking out Arium for that exact reason. It's like for women to feel connected, for like a place to really access what we're capable of. I would love to be inspired by them, and to have shows, yes, of course, to have events. I want to see what's possible with this thing, and how it can be received, and how we can grow with it.
Sure. Just to hopefully answer a couple of those questions that you raised just at the beginning of your answer. So the way we've envisioned this to be, really at the discretion of like the owner of each room. So as far as I am aware, you can change out your artwork as often as you want. It's totally like gasless transactions that we handle on the back end, with the idea being that, if you want to wake up and have your room look one way and then at night have it look a completely different way, be showcasing things at different times of day for different audiences, we really want you to have that ability. That was the whole kind of thinking behind making it interoperable into these different, metaverse worlds, the crypto voxels or REM or Somnium space, where we really want this to be as much as possible a representation of the owner's like interests and expression, without the, the limitations of like the technical limitations of metaverse or of blockchain. We want to build something like on top of that. So, again, with the idea that you're going to have the space that is as expressive in each moment as you want it to. You were talking just a bit before about, you want to use a space to exhibit new ideas and support women and support marginalized communities. And one of the things we also envisioned with these rooms was not that they would just be exhibition spaces, but they would be these kind of community hubs, or grow into these community hubs. And I was hoping you might be able to talk about what you envision, like the type of community you might envision growing around a room like this.
Other than, I mean, I feel like a community of interaction, a community of expressing each other's, to celebrate the differences, if anything, is more like this, needed so much in this world, like to have space for people to celebrate their differences. I know it's like hard, and I know it's like most people find it so jarring and different, but it's like that is the beauty of who we are. It's like it's the beauty of being here. So to be able to embrace that within a community, within the community events that we could make there, I think are wonderful in audio, like auditory, and visual, and like communal, um, So we will see.
Yeah,
There's so many unknowns, and I love the unknowns. So
sure. We really just wanted to, we wanted to get crypto art off of Twitter as its exclusive like meeting place.
that is something I would also actually, as a mission, would be amazing to be having. In a way, where you know how everybody's always showing their works that are not sold yet, not sold, not sold, not sold. Why not have a place where those unsold, or like a time of a month or something, that the works that are unsold could be quietly in these spaces. They could be showing, they could be for people to experience in a more personal level, versus, and hopefully a more immersive level, because I would love to see a lot of these things much bigger than just like the limitation of the window that the platform will offer. That's been my biggest concern, is like a lot of my work, I'm all about zooming in, which my last super rare was all about zooming in, because it's literally all I do on my works. I do stuff, so I have to retouch things like little dots and things so close, and then I love going back, and I know the work is great for me when I experience it in multiple levels. So I'm sure there's everybody's art that has been showing through the Twitter feeds is like a fraction of what could be experienced by what they've actually created. And that is what this space should be doing for everybody. I think this floors, I think they will access, they will give, I think it would give it the time of day that it deserves, like at least a little more so than what had the minimal points that we've been seeing with people's work. We can only see it from so far. It's like everybody's work, and so quick. It's like there has to be the opposite of that as well for experience. So I'm hoping that we can access again the micro and the macro, that we've been seeing it as a super quick, super small thing for so long. Let's see what happens once we can experience them. The same pieces, it can be the same ones. And what a great way to display your works that have been around for a while, that nobody will dig for, because everybody's so quick. I just want the newest thing. This is the easiest, I'm going to buy it now. It's like, wow, that needs to change. Like there has to be more. But there has to be more than that, or at least people that would be interested to delve in further into the actual art that's going on.
And the context of, seeing a piece of art, in a Twitter feed by itself is so much different than seeing it, in a gallery space, with the context of other pieces around it, right? The ability to like understand something greater, like the continuum that each piece sits in, as opposed to them all being, basically isolated by the box with whoever posted it, and then there's another physical box with somebody else's pieces, and it's the context is totally random,
and then everybody goes to comment their own pieces behind it. It's like,
and then the algorithm of Twitter,
oh my god, all right, and then they decide who makes it, the algorithm. And and being in New York City for the past 18 years, I think. It was like being able to see the amount of shows and art in real life, that like so much of my work is the texture, even though it's like a photograph,
no, definitely.
Like, but when you're experiencing even just a photograph that's been printed super large, you can really access things about it that are much more immersive to the viewer, and experiential to the viewer. So I would love for this to be able to access that better for people.
So I think you just hit on something that I think is really important, I'd like to ask you about, which is just as a bit of context. So one of the projects that I do at the museum is I go through every piece in the Genesis collection, and I write 1,000 words or so of criticism on it. Not criticism, like not criticizing anything, but just have some basis of writing on. I love everything. I don't believe
critique.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what to say.
And so many of these pieces, I am cognizant of the fact that looking at them through, the screen of my 15-inch MacBook, it's kind of a bastardization of that piece of art itself, that this thing is not necessarily a painting, right? This thing is this is a sculpture. This is something that should be seen immersively. This is something that should be, seen blown up and huge, as opposed to everything, being kind of forced into the small screen, the flat surface. And one of the things that excites me so much about the metaverse is that it gives an opportunity for digital art to be seen a lot more natively. You can't really have an art installation. Like installation art doesn't make sense currently in the crypto art landscape, right? And I think because of that, there's like a dearth of conceptual art because it's so hard to, explore wider concepts when you're just dealing with a visual medium that you're seeing so like diminutized. So I was hoping you could talk about, obviously you believe in the metaverse in some respect, you have all these plots of land, and now you have this room. I was hoping you could talk about what, the metaverse itself might lead to as an extension of crypto art's possibilities.
I like how you said so I've also been a collector now since I started, because I couldn't stop myself.
Yeah, sure.
Because I loved it so much. I loved feeling like I was contributing to the success of the people I believed in. And being able to experience some of these digitally create native works are mind-blowing. And just from seeing it through the computer screen. So I can't even imagine going through an Alcrego or like a Ann Spalter world, like where if you can like be walking through it, or you can really see like, wow, this whole thing is that, like it will the limitations of digital art in the gallery form it is exactly like what a Twitter is to like an artist, like to showing artworks. Like it's diminishing it, and that's why it doesn't work that well almost in gallery form, unless it's like projection or like the whole wall has been dedicated to digital art. Because we can't experience it in the physical world the same. And I feel like the same thing as you just said, installation works not working so well through the digital media. I find that really interesting because it's the same dichotomy. It's like having the installation works are from in real life situations, and they don't work so well because they're going on a screen, they're going into the world which is digitally native. So I think having the metaverse would be mixing both of those. I think installation, of course, it usually depends on the location, or the whole point of installation is about the location that it's with and how it works in context with what you're creating. But if you have control of what that metaverse would be, then your installation is the whole thing. So it will make sense, I think, once the controls are there. Ariam was like mind-blowing with like the controls that you can have. But as long as all the other things involved, which is the 3D software, which you would have to do your landscape in, and then work within that. So, and then place items within that. So there's still so much technical jargon almost, or like red tape of like learning and like quirky and awkward tools, because we're kind of in a weird transition of getting all of this to be more fluid. And I think as we go more into the metaverse, the digitally native works will totally shine, of course. And they will be seen as the way installation works so well when you are walking into them physically. It would be the same kind of notion, or you would hope that it would translate in that way. So I think that's how it would be opening doors.
Sure. Yeah, I'm starting to write a long form piece about like just the nature of physical art when 5-10 years from now the metaverse is expanded to the point of like real fluidity, real ease of access and ease of use. Why would artists make anything in the physical world when you can go in the metaverse and every limitation on that artistry is basically lifted? You no longer have to deal with concerns of price, of size, of material, of scope. So it's something that I'm thinking about a lot, right? Like as the metaverse expands for people into people's lives,
I think, I think for the artists that come into the world that are like digitally expressive, maybe is a good way to say it. I think they definitely would have a really much easier time expressing what it is that they want to say.
Mhm.
Being human ourselves, I don't think we'll ever lose wanting to carve something. I loved carving myself. So like,
Sure.
I don't think that physical, I think it's going to be, again, a duality of the digital. It's always going to be a duality between physical and digital because we are physical.
Mhm.
So I think the art that comes, depending on the people that are on the planet, would be making. I think it would still be making it. How it translates to the others' perception, if they're seeing it, I'm sure the technology for scanning and for bringing that real product or thing that they had made
Mhm.
into the virtual world easier. So I think it's still going to be a mix. I don't see it ever going away because we still have to build our houses. We still are working with our hands in our lives. It has to still be around. So there's going to be artists exploring every single aspect of our life as they do now. Like, we just don't know them all. Like, the amazing part that has been in this space is learning about the scope of artists that are now finally coming into the space, and you really get a nice idea of the different kinds of arts throughout the world.
Mhm.
We're going to see more so as computers become more accessible in different parts of the world as well. So I think I'm so excited to find out, to know what's going to happen in 20 years from now. It would be really great to see, and we're all going to be finding out,
Yeah,
hopefully.
whether we like it or not. I guess my last question is, what we've designed into these initial rooms is this duality between like order and chaos. Have you like started to explore that at all, or like, do you want me to go into that a bit more?
Go into it a little bit.
So yeah, Untitled XYZ, who has designed these buildings, came up with this kind of core concept. We wanted to really challenge the idea of what architecture could be. And I think the words that you had tweeted out, when it's freed of its former fetters, right? When you no longer have to worry about everything that architecture has always had to worry about on a practical level, what does that look like, right? Is it even the same thing? And so to kind of explore that concept, initially, Untitled he's giving room owners a choice between either like order as a general overarching room concept, which is a building that's very much like a building, right? It might have doors, ceilings, walkways, right? It is made to mimic, an IRL structure. And then chaos is the other side of that, where, the room owner is really giving, the architect free reign to like push at, poke at, or altogether break down these kind of formerly like absolutist architectural concepts. Do you have any inkling of what you might be more interested in?
It was that exact notion that had me bidding on this thing, because I really, really, really am dying to see what happens with the chaos. Of course, no, I want to see the chaos. I want to experience that chaos and push it and see what we can do with it, because it's exactly like you say. The architects always have to work with gravity. They have to work with gravity, and it's like, what happens if it's ascension? What is the opposite of gravity? It's like, we don't have the earth spinning in this virtual world. So let's see I don't know, let's see what it could be. Let's find out.
Yeah,
Yeah, what I would do.
cool.
So he knows now.
Yeah, sure. I think that'll greatly excite him. Knowing him as I think I know him, he's leaning more towards the chaos element as
You
well.
can see it in his art. It's like, are you kidding? That's the whole point.
Yeah.
Seeing that he was the architect and knowing that it was like these choices, it's like, it felt right for me. So I wanted to try it.
Cool. I don't have any other specific questions, so I'm going to pause or stop the recording. If that's all right.